And as President-elect Joe Biden tries to forge ahead with his plans to tackle the pandemic, a growing number of Republicans are now calling for the White House to brief the president-elect on matters of security. We're joined now by former Kansas governor and Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius for more on this. Secretary Sebelius, thanks for being here. I know you've called the lack of access to President-elect Biden's transition team shocking and life-threatening. What's your biggest concern?
Well, Diane, I think that it's really important now that the final states have been announced and settled that we have a transition, a peaceful transition, which means immediate access to all of the government agencies by the president-elect. There are things that you absolutely cannot determine from the outside, like how hollowed out are these key agencies? At HHS, for instance, how many people have left the CDC who are career staff and have the expertise? What does the FDA look like? Are there critical positions missing at NIH? That's going to be really important to figure out as we go forward with the COVID response. President-elect Biden, as your segment just said, is also going to be dealing with the economic side of the House. So they need access to agencies which are going to have to mobilize the effort to get the economy back up and running as quickly as possible. That's really tough to do when you can't talk to the people inside, when you can't do an analysis of what has happened in that agency, what needs to be replaced, how fast it can be replaced, and get those plans in order. The inauguration is less than 10 weeks away. And the worst of all worlds, in the midst of the worst health and economic crisis that any of us have seen in our lifetimes, is to have a curtain drawn for those next 10 weeks, or even part of those 10 weeks. We don't have any time to waste. People are dying every day. We have, the virus is totally out of control in most parts of the country. Hospitals are being overrun. So the Biden team needing to have on-the-ground information so they can make plans for a seamless handoff in January is absolutely essential.
And what should the new administration's first steps be to contain the virus?
Well, I think you've already heard the task force begun to talk about that. I mean, there's some things that clearly can start to happen right now, and I think they are happening. Conversations with governors across the country, making it very clear what the president will do when he is sworn in as a national plan, and then what the governor's responsibilities are. That would be really helpful because governors basically were told by this administration that they were on their own. Find your own PPE, go figure out your own vaccination campaign, figure out how to get the equipment that you need. Having a national strategy and governors being able to then plan for that national strategy is critically important. The communication about getting the country ready for a vaccination campaign needs to start yesterday. Having clear scientific information, transparency around the remaining hurdles that the FDA will have any vaccine company go through in order to say this vaccine is safe and it works. Information about who's been tested and how effective it is, and then what is likely to happen, will really, again, get the country ready and confident that this is not some political trick. It is not some partisan issue. It really is about science, and it's the way we will fully engage our economy. So those steps can happen right now, but I think the logistics of a vaccine campaign, the furthering of the strategies about the interim steps, wearing a mask, social distancing, working closely with governors about their mask mandates and school openings and closings. I think everybody understands that schools are the top priority. Keeping kids in school is number one. So helping states make decisions about how to do that in the most effective way, I think can be really important.
Well, and having worked in the federal government, but also having been a governor yourself, how do you see that balance between the state role and the federal role in trying to manage this pandemic?
Well, I think usually in my entire lifetime, and certainly as HHS secretary and as a governor, the role in any disaster is You use the resources you have at the local level. When those are expired, you call on the state level. When those resources are used, then the states call on the federal level. That's what typically happens. We've never seen a situation like this where the federal government basically under Donald Trump has refused to take any role for the federal government. They basically said to states, you're on your own. So what you've seen is a mishmash of policies, of priorities. Governors have been bidding against each other for protective equipment. We now have a crisis growing in the middle of the country where I am, Diane, where hospital beds are filled to capacity. And there really is no place to turn. There's no place to turn for personnel needed in those critical bed units because we're in rural America, and the states all around us are having the same kind of crisis. So we desperately need a federal strategy, how we can get help and support. Can personnel be transported in from another state? How do we make sure that that happens? And I think governors will welcome a defined role for them and inside their state borders, knowing that the federal government is going to take care of the logistics, is taking care of the supplies, will make things transparent, will drive a communication strategy that they can echo, but they don't have to be in a constant debate with the President of the United States.
All right, Secretary Kathleen Sebelius, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Sure. Good to visit with you.
That's all for today, and remember to subscribe to our channel, like and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.